He didn't write a single book. He left no journal, no scrolls, and no manifesto. And yet, over 2,000 years later, his name still echoes through the halls of philosophy, spoken in classrooms, debated in forums, and etched into marble across the world. His name was Socrates, and he was killed for asking too many questions. But the story is deeper than that, much deeper. This is not just the story of a man, it's the story of truth, rebellion, and the dangerous power of thinking for yourself. So sit back and open your mind, because by the end of this video, you might see why Socrates was more dangerous to the system than any army, and why the greatest threat to power is a question. It's begin in ancient Athens. The year is 399 BCE. The city is still licking its wounds after losing the brutal Peloponnesian War to Sparta. Democracy is fragile. Trust in leadership is broken. And the people? They're afraid, searching for stability, for control, for someone to blame. And in the middle of this chaos walks an old man in rags, barefoot, unshaven, and surrounded by a group of young people. He's not preaching. He's not teaching in the traditional sense. He's asking, what is justice? What is beauty? What is truth? And most dangerously of all, why do you believe what you believe? This man is Socrates, but he's not interested in giving answers. He wants to expose the ignorance of those who think they already know. Politicians, priests, poets, craftsmen, none are safe. He walks into the agora, the public square, and starts asking questions that seem simple at first. But the deeper he goes, the more the people around him begin to falter. They stutter, they contradict themselves, they get angry, because Socrates isn't just poking holes in their logic. He's pulling the mask off their illusions, and no one likes to be exposed. Socrates believed something radical, that wisdom begins with admitting your ignorance. I know that I know nothing, he famously said. But in a world obsessed with power, pride, and prestige, saying I don't know is dangerous, especially when it makes other people look foolish. And that was Socrates' specialty. He made powerful men look small, not through insults, not through rage, but through pure, relentless logic. Imagine a politician boasting about his wisdom. Socrates would simply ask, "What is wisdom?" Then he'd calmly dismantle every answer, revealing contradictions until the man was left speechless or furious. This method became known as the Socratic method. It was more than a way of questioning. It was a weapon. And Athens began to see it as a threat. Now, you might be wondering, why would anyone be afraid of a man who just asked questions? The answer lies in what those questions revealed. Athens was a democracy, yes, but like any system, it relied on obedience, tradition, and a shared belief in authority. Socrates was challenging all of that. He wasn't just questioning ideas. He was training others to do the same, especially the youth. Young men like Plato and Alcibiades followed him around the city, absorbing his wisdom, watching him verbally outmaneuver the elites of Athens. To the establishment, Socrates wasn't a philosopher. He was a corrupter, a disturber of the peace, a virus in the body politic. So they charged him. Officially, his crimes were corrupting the youth and impiety, not believing in the gods of the state. But unofficially, his real crime was thinking too freely and teaching others to do the same. And so began one of the most famous trials in history. Socrates stood before 501 jurors, ordinary Athenian citizens, who would decide his fate. They asked him to apologize, to back down, to save his own life. But Socrates refused. He told them that he was a gadfly, a necessary irritant that keeps the state awake and alert. He said the unexamined life was not worth living. And even when they offered him the chance to escape death, He said no, because to him, escaping would be a betrayal of everything he stood for. So they sentenced him to die, not by sword, not by exile, but by poison, hemlock. As Socrates sat with his friends in prison, awaiting death, he remained calm. He discussed the soul, the afterlife, the nature of justice, and when the cup of poison was finally brought to him, he took it without fear. He drank it down, slowly, silently. Then he lay down and died, not as a criminal, not as a martyr, but as a philosopher, faithful to his pursuit of truth, even to his last breath. So, why was Socrates really killed? He was killed because he asked questions in a world that demanded answers. He was killed because he exposed the fragile egos of powerful men. He was killed because he reminded people that they didn't know as much as they claimed to. And in a world built on illusions, the truth can be terrifying, because the truth forces us to confront ourselves, our beliefs, our fears, our ignorance. Socrates held up a mirror to Athenian society, and instead of changing, they shattered the mirror. But here's the twist. They may have silenced the man, but they couldn't kill the questions. Socrates' ideas lived on through his students, especially Plato, who passed them to Aristotle, who passed them to Alexander the Great, and eventually to the entire Western world. Modern law, science, ethics, and critical thinking all carry the fingerprints of Socrates. He taught us to question authority, to question tradition, to question ourselves, not to destroy, but to understand. Because truth, in his view, wasn't something you receive. It was something you uncover, layer by layer, by never settling for easy answers. So now, the question turns to you. What do you believe? And more importantly, why? Would you dare ask? Would you dare admit you might be wrong? Would you dare, like Socrates, to think? Because in a world full of noise, outrage, and certainty, the most dangerous thing you can do is quietly ask a question.